Ready to go whenever.
Oh, it's recording? It's recording?
Yeah.
And audio's recording?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Ah, that was horrible. Hold on. Shoot. Hold on. Got it. Don't trust this man. My name's Steven. Okay, we're going to play a game. We played this before. It's called Stream of Consciousness. But I'm going to play it looking backward because it started 3 weeks ago, and then it's been bouncing around in my head ever since. And then I put it on pause, and I thought, you don't know, whatever. So here we go. It began with this one single thought. I was in church. And this thought popped into my brain unbidden. Fidelity is the Christian's highest call. What do you think of that? My first thought was, what if the church, sorry, I'm holding a Bible. More on that later, or maybe not. What if the church stopped worrying so much about who could marry whom? And what if the church spent all that time and energy and all those resources and all those words and all those protests and all those letters and all those conferences and focused on helping people who were married to stay married? Because when we're faithful, we mirror, we bear witness to the faithfulness that Jesus has shown and continues to show to us. Obviously, we don't display faithfulness. I just dropped the Bible. When I was younger, I'd have been like, oh, the Bible just hit the ground. Let the Bibles hit the floor. Sorry. That was pretty good. We bear witness to the fact that Jesus stays with us, and we are not perfectly faithful in the way that I believe Jesus is perfectly faithful to us. I believe he is eternal in his fidelity to us. We can't approximate that this side of glory. Hallelujah. But I believe we can can't replicate that, but I think we can approximate it. I think we can get there. We can begin. We can try. And I just thought, what if we start fussing over who got married? What if we started really thinking about staying married? And what if we started with ourselves first? Sure, but then what if, just sort of like as a culture, as an ecclesial culture, as a movement, as a faith community, what if our main objective was to strengthen, to advocate for, to celebrate, and to pursue fidelity? Because that is, and I don't know if it's the highest call for the Christian. I mean, I suppose it is. You could take that and make it work, because you could say that, we're called, if Jesus said everything is summed up, or all the law and the prophets hang on, love God and love your neighbor, then in that sense we should pursue faithfulness and fidelity to God first, and then to those whom we love, and then even more specifically inside the familial context. I guess you could do all that. I don't want to get into all that. I just started thinking, stream of consciousness, fidelity is the highest call. It's not who gets married, it's if they stay married. And then I started thinking, obviously, about the fact that I started thinking about the ramifications of fidelity inside the context of a marriage, what it means to stay, and how Jesus shows us what it means to stay in the way that he treats us, and the way he treats the church as his bride, his people as his bride, his children. I started thinking about how Jesus is our example for fidelity, how and God with Israel too, but in Jesus sort of that eternally faithful God came to us, came near, actually came to get us, and was touchable. And in Hosea, we see an example of someone who remains faithful when the partner displays an absence of fidelity, when there's betrayal and when there's going away to others. There's still a place to come back to. And I think, that's difficult. If you transpose that to our sort of modern day, that can be difficult for a lot of people to think about that, to think about staying faithful when your partner has been unfaithful. And I'm not going to talk about that in this moment, except to say, I'm definitely not telling you what to do or not do inside your relationship. I'm just saying that in God, and then I think even more clearly in the life of Christ, and the way an example we see him set, we have a father, friend. We have a hope that will never leave us, no matter how, will never betray us, will never turn its back on us, no matter how unfaithful we are to it, to him, her. God is the God who stays. He stays with us. He waits for us when we wander away. He beckons us back when we do. He's faithful when we're unfaithful. His fidelity is without question. And I believe we're called to that too. And in the context, in the modern context of the marital relationship, I believe we are called to be faithful. We're called to, I believe we show the world what it means to be constant in our affection and in our love. I think we show the world what unconditional love looks like when we don't leave when things get difficult. When we don't leave when our partner disappoints us. We don't leave when our partner fails us or hurts us or wrongs us or acts in a way that seems to contradict the vows you or we exchanged on whatever that day was or however that might have looked. When I act unlovable and my partner loves me anyway, I think the world gets a little glimpse of how God views all his children and loves all his children. Again, we do it imperfectly, but that's our highest call in that context. So then this is the very last bit of that stream of consciousness. Then I started thinking, what about folks who are divorced? Because this is one thing that I think we're really bad about in American Christianity is we love talking about this thing over here, but we don't know how to talk to folks who don't, like who might be wounded by the thing we're saying or who've been through a different experience. I've been married. This will be, I know I mentioned this before and I got it wrong. I will celebrate 20 years of marriage to my wife this year. And I've never been divorced that I remember. I've never been divorced. And so when I talk about faithfulness and fidelity, and we've not had to sort of deal with marital infidelity in our home. And so when I talk about those things, when I think about them, when I talk about what it means to be faithful and a God who never leaves, I want to be careful to recognize and understand that there are folks, maybe not anybody, I don't know who, I have no idea who watches this, only God knows. But there might be folks who watch that, and I want you to understand something. So I guess this is if you're divorced, if you'll allow me. And this is the first part of the weirdness, is that I'm not divorced. And so can I talk? Is it okay if I say something to you? I don't know what happened, and I don't know why it happened. But if it has happened, then it's happened, and that's that. And if you don't feel like it's resolved, then I would encourage you to seek resolution. I'd encourage you to find someone you trust, some ones you trust, to pursue resolution and to find peace. If you feel like there's forgiveness to either be asked for or given, to pursue that. But here's the thing that's really wonky, and this is the thing that this brings me back to my first sort of thought in the stream of consciousness thing, is that I don't know your story. You know, we when I say we, I mean people who do the thing that I'm doing now, and perhaps definitely on a larger scale, but really whatever your stage. When we do this thing, we have to think about the fact that there are, for as many people who will hear the things that I'm saying now and who will watch this video, each of you have your own story. And so if there's shame from a divorce, I would want for you to experience release from that shame. If there's, again, forgiveness you need to give or to seek, then I would encourage you to seek it. But I don't know your story, and I want to be careful to tell you that the only thing I can be certain of is that whatever you've been through and however it happened, God has not left you in it. He's not left you because of it. You're not alone in it. God is with you and able to bring you to a place where you are whatever it is you're not now that you want or need to be. Last thing, if you are married and the relationship you're in is abusive or detrimental or dangerous, I don't think you should stay. That's just my opinion. I don't think that means you have to stay just because someone might tell you that, you know, the Bible, it says God hates divorce. Sure, he hates divorce. I think God hates it when we separate ourselves from each other, when we're in that kind of relationship. But if you're being abused, if it's dangerous, if there's, you know, I think in some ways we have to not be afraid to abuse, and I'm going to say it this way, just sort of common sense that that's not what God's called you to. I don't believe that God's called you to that. So I would say, please find safety. On the flip side, if you're married and things are just difficult and you had a bad day, or a bad week or a bad month or a bad year, maybe you don't need to get divorced. Maybe you need to grow up. Maybe you need to get honest. Maybe you need to ask for forgiveness. Maybe you need to give forgiveness. Maybe you need to recognize your role in it, right? So if we're at the other end of the spectrum, it's just kind of like not what you thought it would be. Maybe you should just take a minute before you get divorced and think about what it still could be. Something to think about. I could be wrong. Don't trust me. Until we're together again, be well.